Alrighty, so we are here talking about Web3 beyond the hype and what's really going on with Web3 nowadays. Obviously, it was a big buzzword, and then it kind of went out of fashion for a while, and now it's back. So we're going to be exploring all of that with these amazing panelists today. So first of all, let's do some introductions. Nico.
Hi everyone, my name is Nicola. I am Chief Content Officer of The Sandbox. The Sandbox is a Web3 metaverse where users can enjoy, play, live new adventures or experience, but also create entire worlds.
Amazing. Luis.
Hi everyone, Luis here, founder and CEO of Mawari. At Mawari, we do spatial streaming in a decentralized way. We provide developer tools to create high-quality XR experiences.
And Laurie.
I am the CEO and founder of Storytech, and what we do is we're media and tech strategists and curators, so we work at a lot of big shows. And one of the things I do is help media, tech, and brands understand each other and de-hype all these new trends. So hopefully we'll do some of that with you guys today too.
Brilliant. Yay. And isn't it wonderful to see more women than men on this panel too?
Woohoo!
Thanks, Sonia.
But you guys are cool.
Okay, and we also have Nico, another Nico here. And I believe we have a slide deck as well for her introduction.
Yes, I'm Nico Fara. I have done various things within this space, starting with, next slide, is what I did for the community. If you can go to the next slide, please.
Oh, do you have the forwarder?
Oh, thank you. So I founded a community to empower creators in the digital fashion space. So we empowered creators that were either traditional artists before, or they got into the space just because of the power of Web3. And that's called the Fashion DAO. So we have done various sold-out events physically and virtually, as you can see. The other way.
Oh, here, baby. Okay.
The other thing that I have been doing for over 2 years, every single week on Tuesdays, I've been doing a weekly live show. You can catch us on LinkedIn, X, or YouTube. We talk about latest and greatest in emerging tech and immersive experiences. And please reach out if you're interested to be on the show. Lastly, I'm a builder in this space. I'm a creative technologist, and all the insights I share and all the kind of education that I do comes from hands-on experiences. Most recently, I'm building the future of shopping, which is powered by gaming, XR, and AI. Yeah, please reach out to talk more, but I'm excited about our panel. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. By the way, the shopping thing, I don't need any more excuses. Okay, so next up, Laurie has kindly helped us put together a deck about Web3 and kind of going into the basics as well as talking about the growth. So if we can pull up the Storytech deck.
Sure. Okay.
The other way.
This way? Or that way? You had it that way? Oh, there we go. All right, so as I was saying, a lot of what I do, one of the things I do is do tours at CES, like I walk people around and it's a crazy show. But one of the things that you have to do is really break all of this stuff down into pieces that everyone can understand. And that's really the birth and the name of my company, was telling the story around this technology. And more than anything else, now that we're past the hype cycle of Web3 and people think, oh, that doesn't exist anymore, but it's actually happening more than ever before. And some of my colleagues in here know Seth Shapiro. He's someone who works a lot in this space, and he actually put this together. And I just thought it was such a great way to explain where we are, that Web 1 was really about reading. And I think Ben talked a bit about this too, if you were in the last session. And then Web 2.0 was writing. And I'm not going to get into the semantics of Web 3 versus 3.0 and all of that, because that's madness, and we can do that later for cocktails. So let's just keep it to a much simpler concept here. But Web 3 is really about owning. It's really about designing experiences that can be tracked, that can be really traced and in a ledger, and also have experiences that everyone can actually own their own data. And so it's really interesting what's happening now, because we all think the hype is gone, but more than ever before, a lot of the experiences you're seeing on the floor, and where everything is even going with the bursting of Hollywood, where we're starting to see community-driven content do better than big blockbusters. So everything is really pointing in this direction. And here's just some examples, and I apologize for your logo getting cut off, but I wanted to make it nice and big.
Thank you. No worries.
But here's just some examples of Web3 in action. And again, I'm setting the stage for you hearing case studies from my colleagues here, but tokenized communities. And again, NFTs, which kind of has a bad name, in some communities has a good name, but it's this idea of, again, building communities where you can buy tokens or tickets, whatever it is, and gain access to exclusive content. And sometimes these tokens become one-off collectibles, right? We have decentralized platforms, and you're seeing, again, a lot of those on the floor, and we're going to talk about that with these guys. Crowdfunding and fan engagement, which I think personally is one of the most exciting parts of Web3, is really going to the community that is interested in your content and getting them involved in helping you fundraise, so you don't get caught up in the muck of, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing if any of you are studio executives, but is anyone here a studio executive? All right, awesome. So I'm just going to keep going then.
Yeah, definitely.
But the muck of the studio system is that we're completely dependent on other companies and solutions that we have nothing to do with, and so we don't end up really making money for our own content. And so crowdfunding and fan engagement in blockchain platforms allows you to really own your content and get your fans engaged. And they stay engaged, right? Because they'll profit later. Smart contracts for licensing and royalties, and you're going to talk maybe a little bit about that with DAOs. Virtual worlds and the metaverse, and our friends over at Sandbox will talk about that too. But a lot of what we're talking about in there are the tools, the headsets, the environments, all the sort of no-code solutions that we're seeing out there are about building these worlds. And lastly, just being able to track everything on a ledger so that you really do own these things. And so this is, again, just general messaging, but we're really creating a new economy of creators. And when I say creators, I don't mean just creator economy, meaning influencers or social media folks, but I mean filmmakers. I mean anyone who's telling a story, right? Community-driven projects are really at the heart of all this. And imagining a world where you really own your identity. And I know there's some challenges with all this digital identity stuff, but believe me, every time a new challenge comes up, someone is building something to solve it. And we're really looking at a world where we're trying to bridge digital and physical. So think of Web3 as the next evolution of the internet. And I just wanted to show you just some examples that just happened. If any of you went to the Cannes Film Festival or Cannes Film Festival, potato, potato, but they actually did a digital film festival, a company called The Squad, who are basically leading this concept of Film 3. And Film 3 is where the blockchain will serve as the distribution solution for film, and then fans will engage through blockchain technologies in funding those projects. And so they did a film festival where in order to watch the movies, you got an NFT, and then you were able to, through a blockchain served video solution, watch the movies. And so everybody understood what was happening. Everyone knew what was being watched. Everyone knew what they owned. And of course, you get that collectible afterwards. And then there are also decentralized platforms for film distribution happening. And again, this is just one example. We're going to see more. But this is a company called Bingeable, and they actually just worked with Steven Soderbergh to distribute his film on a platform that has been operationalized specifically to allow fans to purchase interest in getting this project launched, and then actually seeing the benefit of that afterwards. And then lastly, Theta, who did Metacon, actually has a Web3 theater where you can go on there and, again, using a blockchain solution, see videos and watch content. So this is just a touch of this, but I wanted to let you guys all know you don't have to be afraid of this Web3 expression. It's happening. We're in it right now. We can stop calling it Web3 if you want, but it's just the next iteration of where we're all going. So I hope that helped explain everything.
I think that was great, by the way. Thank you, Laurie.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I do feel that you're right. I mean, it seems ridiculous that two guys sitting there at Apple are making decisions as to what we want to watch. It seems pretty ridiculous. So let's talk about some Web3 projects. So I believe we have the Mawari video. Perhaps you could just give me a quick introduction before we play it.
Sure. Okay, as I mentioned, we provide developer tools for decentralized rendering and streaming. As Laurie mentioned, what we do in the Web3 space is mainly to bootstrap our supply. Like if you own a GPU, you can join our network and we can scale this versus investing a huge amount of money on buying data centers. So we see Web3 as a way to really bootstrap and really grow the supply really quickly. There are very good success stories here. And on the demand side, which would be what XR creators do with our tools, actually it's a seamless experience to the user. Of course, we could also integrate it into a Web3 wallet, but for now we're calling it kind of like a Web 2.5 because the backend is Web3, but the front end is just like a normal show. So we'll show you a show that we did in Japan. This is an immersive mixed media installation that we collaborated with a company called Mixer, which is part of the Coachella innovation team, and contemporary dancer Hiroaki Umeda. So let's play. Okay, so the piece is called Assimilating XR. So.
Mawari is making the extraordinary accessible to everyone, empowering creators to deliver awe-inspiring, immersive experiences globally. How is Mawari unlocking the full potential of the trillion-dollar mixed reality market? Meet Assimilating XR by Hiroaki Umeda, a masterful blend of digitized contemporary dance, digital art, and cutting-edge mixed reality technology, powered by Mawari. This creation's immersive tapestry of movement, light, music mesmerized audiences in its 2-day premiere at MUTEC Japan in Tokyo. Processing power limits quality and immersion in XR devices. However, streaming real-time, high-fidelity, and consumer-grade 3D visuals from the Mixer visual art tool was a non-negotiable requirement for creating a captivating, life-changing experience. Achieving this magic was only possible thanks to Mawari's revolutionary Core XR streaming technology. The result? Real-time, high-fidelity, consumer-grade 3D visuals delivered at a quality never before experienced in the market. This groundbreaking mixed reality installation was not only the first of its kind, but also a tremendous success, debuting to immediate acclaim and selling out instantly. Audiences commented on their amazement with a 96% satisfaction score. The ripple effect of the work's success cascaded to numerous media outlets in Japan and abroad. Assimilating XR showcased to the world that consumers are not just willing, but eager to pay for high-quality, mixed reality, immersive content. Attendees paid $20 for a 7-minute performance. An impressive 71% of first-time XR users affirmed that they found value in their experience. This is just the beginning. At Mawari, our mission is clear: to be a driving force in ushering the XR industry into the mainstream. Stay tuned.
So, as Laurie said, if we get, this was just an effort from Mawari to show the world, okay, XR is here, is ready to monetize. If it's a good enough and good quality experience, people paid $20 for a 7-minute performance, and they were happy with it. So, doing a collective effort and doing a community-driven funding to create more of this type of experiences is our mission for 2024. So if you want to talk more later, just scan the QR code, and we're happy to onboard you either as a creator or as an infrastructure provider.
Great. And Nicola, you've been very quiet there for a second. I just wanted to talk to you about Sandbox, and how did Sandbox kind of come around?
The sandbox has been around since the early 2010, originally as a mobile game that garnered dozens of millions of downloads. Most recently, it exists as a Web3 platform, which was built in 2019, 2020. The best way to envision is obviously taking a page from the other large metaverse out there, Roblox, Fortnite, Zepeto, and the like. But there's three things that I think are very unique and distinctive about the sandbox. The first one is that it is built on a blockchain economy and technology. Users own a plot of lands out of 165,000 that are unique and that they own and that they can do a lot with. They trade avatar. It is built by a top 100 cryptocurrency called Sand. And so there is not only that aspect of ownership, which you mentioned earlier, but also trading and seamlessness. And essentially, it is a platform for everybody. In fact, just recently, about 2 weeks ago, we also launched our own DAO. The second aspect that makes the sandbox unique is its unique presence, both visually. It is voxel style. Once you see it, you can't forget, and it's very recognizable. And also in culture with the partnerships that we were able to strike over the years. So you can go into the sandbox and engage with anything from Gucci to the rock band Avenged Sevenfold to Steve Aoki to Snoop Dogg to The Walking Dead. So there's a lot, and it makes it, in a way, very mainstream, especially for a Web3 project. And the final is around the user experience. There's, as I said earlier, two parts to it. One is the player, user, visitor, and it is not just for gamer. You can go in and lose yourself into a famous museum like the Musée d'Orsay. You can go in and experience something tied to Gucci or Time or the South China Morning Post, or you can just go in and play. But it really appealed to more than just gamer. And on the creator side, very similar. The engine that we use for creators to build is fully no code. So unlike most metaverses out there that require a small or large degree of coding, it's very simple. And therefore, we find that our creator community often attracts a lot of artists, a lot of maybe screenwriters or painters or people that just want to experience but don't necessarily want to learn the technical part of it. So this is hopefully the project in a nutshell.
Yeah, I just have one other question about money. What kind of money is going through this platform every day? Because you talk about trading avatars, etc.
So broadly, we have 5 million accounts that have been built, about 330,000 creators over the last year. I'd say we run a lot of events where we reward creators or players with anything from 50,000 cents to millions, depending on what it is. So for right now, for example, we're doing a builder challenge where over 10 weeks, builders are motivated to bring users and shine and make sure that their experience garner participation, and they can win. You know, in the one we just ran, it was the equivalent of over $100,000 over 10 weeks, which I think for a UGC platform is fairly significant, obviously.
Yeah, that's great.
As far as users buying, there's purchases of land, of NFT, of NFT that can be equipment, of NFT that can be assets that you're going to include in your land, and of avatars. To give you an example of avatar, I think we sold about 65,000 avatars, of which about 80% to unique users, and most of those have been used in the past 3 months. So it's a thriving economy where the sandbox is still putting a lot back into it, like something like we keep only 5% of the rev share when we do sale, because we really want, again, this idea of ownership and of users to make the most and enjoy the economy the most, way more than the platform.
So it's almost like Second Life 2.0?
I think my founders will say this is our vision of the metaverse, or it's at least our attempt to get to the metaverse. Is not a UGC game. It is not a gaming platform. Go do thing is not a third life. It is our attempt to help build one metaverse that, together with projects that they are building, others are building, is going to eventually build this reality or this dream that we have all together.
Great. So this are kind of questions for everyone that I'm going to throw at you right now. So what do you see as the most significant advantages of Web3 compared to the previous iterations of the web? So
I can go. In terms of the advantages or opportunities, I think for me, primarily was the opportunities for creators, the equitable compensations that we can have with smart contracts. That's what we were very much focused on with the Fashion DAO. And then if you think about the brand side, which I've been collaborating with on my technical projects, brands have been looking to kind of enhance their loyalty programs and provide exclusive experiences. So that is the power of Web3 that we can see already some brands are activating with. The other kind of less talked about advantage is the power of access to the wallets. And traditionally, marketers were just counting on the emails from their audience, and that wouldn't give us too much information. It was just a form of communication or broadcast. And now with the wallets, you can see the history of purchases. You can have more information from your audience and then personalize your communication. So I have heard from several brands that is a big advantage for them.
do you want to add?
Yeah, I was going to say, so I have like a living, I was going to say petri dish, but that's not right. A market research project, that is my 14-year-old. And what I have noticed is, to your point, the personalization, but the personalization in a virtual world. And so she said to me the other day, we closed down our domain. And I was like, what do you mean, your domain? And she said, our server, we had been hosting a community on our server where we were acting out roles and all that. It took me a few minutes to wrap my brain around what the hell she was talking about, And I was just glad she wasn't out on the streets doing drugs. But I also felt like what she's saying is we created a world that we designed, that we experienced, that we're having our own personalized, entertainment. And these are folks, and you probably have heard this before with Roblox trends, but she's meeting people in her personalized domain that she's never met in real life, but they are very close to her. And like a year later, they're arranging meetups so they can meet in person. So the technology of Web3 is fostering all this, and also powered by AI and what that is allowing. But the virtualization of all of this is creating all sorts of new behaviors that are really mapping in trend with this upcoming generation. And I think that's fascinating.
It is fascinating. I have the walking petri dish too. Snap,
They're
my
the
enemy.
best. Everyone should get a teenager or teenager just so you know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
Right?
You have to catch up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So what do you see are the challenges for widespread adoption of Web3 technologies, particularly in terms of scalability?
That's a fair one. I think one of the challenges is that the generation gap, where the builders actually are from a different generation and really don't understand how the new generation is interacting with content. And that not only applies to Web3, but also to XR. In the end, if we design this in a way that is frictionless for that new generation, is just a key to widespread adoption. Because right now, I mean, how many of you own a wallet and know how to sell or trade things on Coinbase? if may I ask? Okay, that's a good number.
Yeah,
So.
that's a great
It's the
number.
Web3 room. So.
But if you ask in general, it's very little. So that's in terms of adoption. In terms of infrastructure and technological barriers, it's just all about truly making that interoperability happen that Web3 has always proposed. Right now, everybody's really in their own ecosystem, and I see few interoperability. So really just owning to it and spearheading this will help.
Can I just say, I think it's also a marketing challenge, right? It really is a marketing challenge, because if we weren't calling it Web3 and we just said, it's now, or something like that. Because when you label it something like that, and then crypto freaked everyone out, and that was attached to it, and so it's really a marketing challenge right now to disconnect it with the bad vibes and press of crypto and other things that went sour. And to allow what's happening in the undercurrent of the technology. I mean, you guys are doing amazing things, and yet everyone gets creeped out when they hear Web3 because they attach it to crypto. It's like early VR had to overcome, so it's a marketing challenge, I think.
But also a user experience.
Yeah, no, user experience sucked.
Because, we don't have to put the Web3 in the front. We can all do it in the back end, but
Right.
Because a lot of the builders, I don't think it's just generational, but just also getting out of your comfort zone, your demographic, psychographic, and just understanding, I'm all about a mass adoption, and I've been in the consumer tech space, so we haven't really focused too much on the daily consumers that are on social media, on e-commerce. We have been mostly focused on gaming folks and the crypto savvy folks. So I think it would be an opportunity to fix the user experience, provide more accessibility.
Yeah, Nicola, how are you going about this?
I think that, I come from traditional video games, joined the sandbox just a year ago. When you're a builder of Web3, you think that it's so obvious that the mass will want what you're doing, but the mass doesn't really reason like this, right? People take video games, for example, they're going to come because you have a really cool concept. They're going to come because you have amazing graphics, because you are the killer application on a new platform, not necessarily because you offer interoperability and the possibility to connect your wallet. So I think that there needs to, when you're building in Web3, you probably know you're fighting a good fight and you're pushing technology forward in ways that will be user-friendly. That is probably not what we got to present. I think it goes to the point of Nico when she says, keep it kind of a little bit more behind the scene. And obviously, all of this is a little bit, all the benefits that Web3 blockchain can bring is a little bit eclipsed by the financial gains. It's so easy to think, well, you're doing Web3 because it's lucrative. Whereas there's a lot of companies that are building in blockchain and Web3 because they believe in ownership, they believe in giving the power to their community, they believe in doing things in a completely different way, like the DAO. So perspective, I guess, in one word.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of need 14-year-old builders. Okay, so can you elaborate, by the way, Louisa, you touched on this, the concept of Web3 interoperability, that's that word, interoperability, and its importance in creating a seamless user experience.
Sure. Well, I can explain it related to the Mawari ecosystem. So we orchestrate the centralized resources, which means it's GPUs or compute power, bandwidth, and storage. So right now, for example, if we were to deploy a mass consumer application of XR streaming, if AWS does not have enough supply, if we jump into GCP or to Microsoft, it's not interoperable, and you need a very different setup. And that's the point for us, is that, okay, so what we're trying to do through our platform is that it could be your GPU, it could be AWS GPU, but it needs to be seamless to the end user.
In case of games, it's more, I have a, like we launched Fist of the North Star, which is a popular Japanese manga and anime, and I have a Fist of the North Star avatar, and now I go into someone else's game and it works. And the reality is, it's not because it's on the blockchain that there's a magic behind it, where if I go on Call of Duty blockchain, it's going to work. Interoperability still requires a lot of work on the development side. So it's a little bit touted today as something that can happen instantly. In reality, it's not, and that's why we are still a few years away from that to be the real selling point of this technology.
Yeah, remember when they were talking about it non-stop last year? So, what opportunities does Web3 present for creators and content providers?
Well, I think I talked a little bit about, this idea of now having your, taking your community, and it's even happening in more traditional models. Like if you look at the behaviors around, like, is anyone here like a bass fisherman? I know that's a strange thing to say, but there's a bass fisherman video on demand channel, and it's very niche, but it has a devoted fan base. And then you have sponsors who are selling products for that, community, sponsoring that channel. And this is the world that we're going to be entering in now, where you can take your fan base and build something and have them contribute to it. And so I think there's a ton of opportunities for you to build out your community and surround yourself with your fans or your, the people that are in your world. Because these tools are basically laying there waiting for you to build your own environments. And whether you do it, in the sandbox or in another platform, I think never before have we laid groundwork for this to happen.
Yeah, agreed. And Nicola, I was just thinking about, I heard today about Biggie Smalls in the sandbox, so kind of brand opportunities that you've had, or kind of content creator, opportunities that have come into the sandbox. You talked about the grant that you have right now, but how much is it for a brand to be in the sandbox?
It's under NDA, so it depends. We do different deals with different brands, and of course we want to be very enticing and encourage brands to be a part of the sandbox. I think what's special with what we do with brands that is quite unique is we then give access to creators to play and build around those brands. So for example, we run game jams. We did one with Gordon Ramsay Hell's Kitchen just not too long ago, and now you have hundreds of creators that can go experiment, build. Again, not necessarily a game. It can be a stage. It can be a cooking demonstration. It can be whatever you want, and then the top 20 ones get rewarded with various amount of cents, and obviously they get to own what they built on a land that is given away from the sandbox. So the unique thing for creators in this tech compared to before is you have probably a way larger layer of protection against the platform potentially taking away the content from you, and to the point that if the platform one day decide I don't want to do this anymore, you can likely move what you did somewhere else and build it there and still own it.
So I'm interested because we are at a conference that is primarily focused on XR. I am interested in how does the concept of this digital ownership in Web3 enhance user experiences in XR environments? Do you think there is an answer to that question yet?
I can add something. I think ownership just fuels empowerment, and going back to the community impact and creators with their fans, so that being part of their growth really helps. Being part of the decision making, being part of the path that they're taking, and so they can help build this stuff with you. So if they're building their metaverse or any type of activations or experiences, now you have a bigger team that may not be directly working with you, but they're contributing in your community. So I think that is great, and also the word of mouth and helping with marketing and helping with other aspects of your business. That is not like anything before.
Yeah, and actually having real data, that is impressive. I think that is true. All of these companies do want to see real data. They don't just want to say, oh, yeah, that was great. So how do you see XR and Web3 coexisting? Luis?
That's, I remember sometimes people saying that what we do, it was like that Venn diagram, but just 1 millimeter overlapping. But it's actually quite a lot, because the XR industry is a very strong community. And if we break that cliche of, oh, okay, it's Web3, it's crypto, and we really work together to build a community, we already have a very strong community, and look at this conference. So I would say there's a lot of potential. It's just about being open-minded and really understand what's really Web3 is about, which is the power of community and ownership. From that, I mean, any XR application, whether it's enterprise use case or it's a consumer use case, and to the infrastructure can be decentralized.
So I just want to ask, what Web3 project would be your dream project, each of you? I mean, you're kind of doing it already, right?
I'm going to tell you.
And Luis, you're doing this too.
I am doing it, yeah.
So me too.
Well, I'm going to start tomorrow. No, I mean, I had a podcast for a while, and now I'm looking at relaunching it again, and I'm really seriously considering doing it on a decentralized platform, so that I can really build a fan base and see if I can get it monetized through that fan base. And all of you can have a discount if you join today. but I like the idea of building whatever I build next content-wise, because I have to do a lot of content marketing. So I'm looking at new models for content marketing, just as a consultant. And I want to use some of these new tools so that I can see what's working. And also, even just the concept of like Canva, and the fact that I can do anything on that, or all these no-code solutions, or the fact that you could send an individual stream to a headset. All these things are setting us up for this.
Right. I would say something. As the next phase of Mawari, we are actually working really hard towards setting up creator grants so that they can start building high-quality XR experiences. Because we've been here since 2017, and we know how hard it is actually to either get a grant or get funding from VCs. It's funny because people get away from Web3, but VCs, it's like, oh, you have a Web3 project, tell me about it. But when you say, oh, I'm from XR, it's like, oh, yeah, no, it's too far away, sorry, let's talk in 5 years. So our mission really, we want to democratize that, and because there are a lot of great creators that if they had a little bit of help, they would right away jump into XR and we would spearhead this industry.
Yeah.
Potentially. I'm not going to give the details right now, but potentially, yes.
Okay, so we have almost 3 minutes left. Does anyone have any questions? Ian.
How do you see Web3 for? How do you see Web3 for brands in the future? Like, I view Web 2.0 as websites that people have. Web3 is ultimately an ability for any brand to have a metaverse site of their own where they can create their own communities. what do you feel about that? How do you see that?
I can jump in. So there's so many aspects that we're working on, and I think there's room for improvement. And we're seeing also like some examples with different luxury brands doing different immersive experiences, NFTs, and so on, to transparency and different proof of authenticity. So there's so much that brands can do, and obviously the bigger brands can do more. I personally don't think every brand needs a big metaverse because it requires a lot of marketing. It requires, and we saw like some brands tried and it didn't really get traffic and traction. So I think actually it's up to us, the builders, to build the platforms that then brings the traffic and brings the best experiences to brands and creators and kind of makes those connections and smooth out this transition. And for brands, it is just similar to what they did with Web 1, Web 2. They have to just put the effort, be faster in adoption than what they did before, and just go with these trends, and not just because it's a trend and a PR play. It's more about like truly doing something that will benefit their bottom line too.
I think it has to do also with commerce. I think, again, take it about decentralization. What if I could own a piece of a brand? What if I could be immediately rewarding because I talked to him about a brand and he bought? That is less about the little metaverse world, but more about how can you monetize your users and your influencers.
Yeah, if I was a brand, I would be, and they're doing this, I would be spreading my assets, my brand, into digital platforms, because again, talking about my living, breathing market research person, she's trying on clothes on her avatar first before she comes to me and wants them in real life. So I would be seeding these platforms with my brand in organic ways, and it doesn't have to be a whole environment, but I would be getting those digital assets out to all these platforms to start to build that interest.
Similar to how it is on social media right now.
Yeah.
We have one more question. I know we're out of time, but I feel this will be a good one because of the person he's sitting next to.
Hi, my name's Steve. A lot of the things that you're doing are creating experiences and then bringing in assets which allow you to put them in. How do you think that any of the experiences that you're creating that the blockchain is enabling will hold up in 5 or 10 years? Will you still be able to use any of it?
If you look at World of Warcraft, it lasts like 12 plus years. People still play RuneScape classing after a decade. So it's not an ideal user experience, and I think the best let's call them gaming platform, although this is more than gaming platform, need to be very, very much renewed, at least graphically, every few years. Now, that's just the graphics. Will the user experience still be relevant, or will this become a museum? This TBD, right? Like, I don't think that as millennial could have thought that, damn, when I'm 40, I'm gonna go back and try to play what I was playing when I was 6 or 7, but yet it's happening. But I can tell you about the user experience. I can say, I think as long as the tech remains strong, which is on top of the blockchain layer, yeah, it will hold up, like, as far as something relatively entertaining.
And many of us are enablers, building the platform so creators and brands can build on top. So it's really up to the creators to keep up with the trends and listen to the end users.
Yeah, if the content is good enough, it will hold up. That's the bottom line.
I think it's completely dependent on what happens in November, whether there's going to be a future.
Okay, we'll end on that one. Thank you very much, panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you.